Hello everybody, Big Seven here, back for another SuperCoach AFL video. Apologies for the lateness of this video. I normally like to have these out on a Monday night, but I've been up in the Gold Coast and Byron Bay, enjoying the beautiful weather up there. Coming back to Melbourne, definitely a bit of a drag, and also got to see Melbourne dismantle the Gold Coast Suns without any umpire help at all. So all in all, a good weekend, and also a good weekend on the Supercoach front. 2,509. It looked like I was going to score around about par until that last Sunday night game where the King Seagull Jack Zeeble absolutely delivered. Uh, the season rank goes up to 443 now, targeting top 100 for sure. Would love to go even better than that though. So, last week, the trades I ended up doing, um, it was a lot of thinking last week because I wasn't sure which premium I wanted to bring in. I wasn't sure if I wanted to boost. Ended up doing that, so I traded Fergus Green out for Chincotta, pretty obvious trade, and then Cowan out for Simpson. I just thought with the rookies that debuted last week, I thought Simpson was pretty much going to be the last of this cash gen, and I preferred him over Angwin just because you know playing in a good side. Simpson is a fairly decent player as well. Whereas Angwin, I'm just a bit less sure about. Playing in a wing role for a bad team. I was happy to pass on him and pay up for Simpson. And then I traded out Wilmot. I was really tossing up who I wanted to bring in. There's probably about 15 players that I was looking at, narrowed it down to about five. Um, I was considering Hayden Young, but in the end, just can't trust Freo, and I still don't mind Hayden Young. He's someone I'll look at a bit later, though. Fremantle, I know last week played a fast game style. I just want to see what happens with that. The other couple I was really considering, Jack Steele, just a little bit unsure about his shoulder and his fitness, and maybe he's managed a bit more through games. So chickened out of him, and then I was tossing up between two Gold Coast boys. I wish it was three that I was tossing up between. I was tossing up between Powell and Fiorini. Powell, I still think is a good pick. I'm just a bit unsure about his injury history. And Fiorini, I had him pegged at probably about an 80, 85 average, and it's still probably about that. But he was about 330k. It was just like, is it enough? Maybe if he could have gone 90, I would have gone for him, but I just thought probably not enough scope, and I was confident enough in Simpson's cash gen that I wouldn't have needed Fiorini's cash gen. So the option I settled on in the end was Sinclair, a pretty safe pick. I think he goes somewhere between 100 and 105, though he has been playing more midfield. I'd prefer him down back, seagulling, but um, still, he should go okay. So I'll go into the team. I'll go through it fairly quickly because I didn't watch a lot of football over the weekend. Enjoying myself up in the sun. Defenders, Dacos, he'll be fine. I went with Tom Stewart as a VC. I was pretty confident on Clary as the captain. I didn't want to go for Bontempelli because Kingsley came out and said they'd give him some attention. I'm not sure what kind of attention that was because he went 164. So I wanted to go someone that was before Clary. I didn't really want to vice captain Clary and, you know, be pretty much committed to taking it. I thought I'll take a punt on a high ceiling player. So I was really tossing up between Dunkley, who I vice captain last week. Didn't really like the matchup against Carlton. He went 149, so matchups, I guess we can say, are a bit overrated. Tim Taranto, I just didn't think he had a massive ceiling. Like West Coast is a good matchup, but he is someone that has a fairly poor DT to super coach ratio, so he probably would have needed to get 40, 45 touches to go 150. So it really came down to Dawson and Stewart. I like to go for Dawson, who has had some massive ceiling games at GMHBA Stadium. It was looking pretty bad at half time. I think Dawson was about on about 80 odd, and Stewart was not even on 50. In the end, wouldn't have mattered. I wouldn't have taken either of those two scores. I really just wanted to back in Clary, and did pretty decent. 136. Can't complain about that as a captain. Um, in terms of premiums to be worried about, I mean, James Sicily only 63. Um, just seems to have lost a bit of that desire with Hawthorn being so bad, averaging under 100, but not much I can do with him. The other player that could be a concern is Rowan Marshall. Didn't play, I think it was the second half of the fourth quarter with the rolled ankle, but apparently that was just precautionary. Still, I'm not sure about Marshall long term. I'll go into him in a bit more detail a bit later on. And in terms of the rest of the premiums, I'm pretty happy with those. And so, where does this leave me overall? This leaves me, we're at round 9 now, and I've really got 5 spots I need to upgrade to get a full premium 22. Connor McKenna, he was poor on the weekend. Um, I wasn't expecting that. I was pretty confident in McKenna with Rich out of the side, got more kick-ins, but wasn't stepping outside the square, so someone needs to tell him he needs to be doing that. Still confident enough in McKenna going forward as long as Rich is out of the side. Ashcroft, who just had a bit of a nightmare game, I think he still scored about 60 odd in Dream Team scoring. But he is someone that doesn't have a great ratio, a lot of handballs, a lot of uncontested stuff, and just a bad game from a rookie. I think he can bounce back, but with a break even of 71 and this 37 going to be in 2 more cycles, he's probably the priority to move on. Then I had Johnson on field, looping Chincotta and Simpson. Happy enough to keep playing those two. And then the fourth rookie spot, Samson Ryan, loopholed him. 104, fairly fortunate with Soldo being out of the side. I still think he would have scored well, but maybe only a 70 or an 80 instead of the 104. Happy to continue looping him going forward. So that's the 4 rookies that I'm playing, and then Jacob Hopper, who I would like to get to a premium option. It won't be this week. His break even 77, but it probably will be next week. So in terms of premium targets to trade in, my defense is pretty much set. I've got Dacos, Stewart, Sinclair, Zeeble, and Sicily. So it really only leaves one spot, and that's likely to be Sheasel. I guess I could bring in a Sard or a Ryan or maybe a Doherty. But looking at the forward line, so I've already got Taranto, Dunkley, Rosie, and Gordon. But there are a number of forwards that are going that look like they are on track to get forward status at the conclusion of round 11. Those are Sam Walsh, Christian Petrarca, and Max Gawn are the big 3. McRae also a chance of getting forward DPP as well. So realistically, I don't want to bring in any Butters or Cornelio types or, any of the defenders because I would want to switch Sheasel back into defense. That's defense sorted, and then get some of these midfielders or Gorn that are going to get forward DPP status. And I think they will definitely outscore anyone that is a forward only or your Butters or Cornelio types. So that leaves me having to trade in midfielders now. So it's spots to fill, and Dawson's going to be going back into defense. So, yeah, that's another one I've missed out. So, really, looking to get in, yeah, out of the 5 spots I've got left, 4 midfielders and a forward. Although it might end up being 3 midfielders and 2 forwards, just depending on what shakes out. So, who am I trading out this week? I think looking at break evens, it's got to be Ashcroft. Have a bit of faith in McKenna, um, Chincotta Simpson. They've got a lot more cash to be made. So does Samson Ryan. So Ashcroft goes out. There's a few midfielders I'm eyeing off that are potential value. So I know Anderson, 605K. He's just a bit too expensive for me. I think he is a legitimate option, but I want to go for value here. And if I sort by average, and Petrarca and Walsh, both 600K plus, both players that I want to target, but hopefully they drop a bit later on. So if I go down, it's really Brayshaw and Mills are the two I'm considering. Brayshaw, there was some news that came out before the Brisbane game, and going into that Brisbane game, there was a news report saying that that Brisbane game was the first game that he had played pain-free. So up until that, 90 average, then scores a 98 against Brisbane, who are a pretty tough midfield, and then came back to life with 149 against Hawthorn last week. Up until last week, they had been a tough midfield. I didn't watch the Fremantle Hawthorn game, so I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Hawthorn were that bad that Brayshaw just looked good, or if the argument of Hawthorn are a tough midfield group contributes to the argument of picking Brayshaw. Either way, he's 530K now, break even of 54, so it's now or never if you want to get him. And looking back to last year, 111 average. So if he can go somewhere around 105 to 110 from here on out, he does have tough fixtures, but at 530K, I'm happy enough to take that bargain. I'm not sure exactly where he was for midfielders last year, but I think he was just inside the top 10. So 530K for Brayshaw, that's something I want to snaffle up. The other player I was considering was Callum Mills. And look, I don't think he's a bad option at all. Fremantle have been a tough midfield. So they've been an easy midfield, 18th ranked, so easiest midfield to score against. Only scored 100, but again, Collingwood haven't been easy to score against. And we saw with Mills this week, his CBAs went up quite dramatically. I think it was around about 50%. And yeah, again, I think he was the 4th highest averaging midfielder last year. Didn't have any of these shenanigans. And I think Sydney have to go back to playing Mills in a full-time or close to full-time midfield role, especially the way their form has been. I think it's time to put Mills back into the midfield. Break even of 116, though, means that if I wanted to go Mills and Brayshaw, then Mills would be the one to wait on and get next week, which is probably what I'm thinking about doing. So Brayshaw this week, probably Mills next week. I need to find 70K. That's going to come in the form of Davey. His form has dropped quite dramatically. I'm not even sure if he's best 22. In terms of rookies on the bubble, I mean, I can't afford Nevitt, who's 160K. Could be an option with Dangerfield out of the side. That would improve his job security. and he also has a goodbye. The player I'm going to go for, and there is Weddle as well from Hawthorn, 130k defender, but I don't trust Sam Mitchell, especially with rookies this year. I don't want to pay up 130k for Weddle, who and what's he scored? I think he's averaging about 50 or something like that. Um, yeah, he's only averaging 46, so I don't want to pay that inflated price. I'm going to go early on the North Melbourne rookie Drury. And again, didn't watch the game, but from what I've heard, he looked solid enough. And in a side like North Melbourne, looking solid should buy him a few weeks of job security. So we'll go for him. And that leaves me 39k in the bank. Actually, I need to change this actually to make my field look better. So I'll go back and do my little trade glitch, which I've got a video on. So it would be Gordon in midfield. I think it is Mitchell down back. No, it isn't. It's Zeeble on the forward line, I'm pretty sure. Dawson down back. I still want Brayshaw, so I'll chuck in Parrish for now. Don't mind Parrish as an option as well. Just putting it out there. I'm preferring Brayshaw and Mills as my preferred trade-in targets. But I don't mind Parrish either. I've already got Merritt though, so don't really want to double up on Essendon midfielders at this stage. So I get Brayshaw back. And so that takes me to 3 rookies on field plus Hopper, with a plan to probably get rid of Hopper next week and then get rid of probably McKenna and Samson Ryan the week after. And that'll get me to 20 premiums before the buy round. And then after that, I'll go through it in a sec actually. I'll just configure. So we'll assume Tyler Young's back and I get to potentially loop. I'm still fairly confident in McKenna going forward, so I'll straight field him, straight field Hopper, get to loophole Samson, Ryan, and Simpson. I guess if Simpson does... Yeah, so if Simpson and Ryan both do well, probably prefer to field Chincotta, so I think... How would I do that? I would put Gordon in the forward line, I think. There's definitely a way around it. Yeah, I'd probably have to, yeah. I'd have to put, yeah, Jury into the mids, Mitchell into the forward line, and Chincotta into defense. So I'd probably play him over McKenna if I'm happy with Simpson and Ryan. If not, then I put Chincotta on here. And so that would be if I was happy with Samson Ryan. If I wanted to go Simpson, then I would swap Gordon and Roberts around. So I've got all these nice loopholey things I can do. In terms of a vice captain and captain, I don't think I want to stray away from Oliver and Bontempelli. And yeah, going into this week, I think the team looks pretty strong. And yeah, so that's how it would look going into this week. I'll go through my planning pretty briefly. like I said, didn't watch a lot of footy over the weekend, but that gave me a lot of time to think about, okay, what are the steps I want to do going forward? And even last week I was thinking about it. So I was considering Fiorini, but I figured that I would be able to upgrade this week, and I wanted to upgrade the next 2 weeks. That'll get me to 20 premiums at round 12. And so, how am I going to do that? Probably Hopper and Young out next week, and I can get Mills and Berry. Not 100% sure on Berry, might be Sharp instead. Might be a different rookie that debuts this week. Round 11. So, yeah, Hopper and Mills, Young and Berry. It leaves me about 75-ish K in the bank. These are all estimates. We know things can go wrong quickly. It's not set in stone, but it's kind of a rough idea of how I want to do things. So upgrade this week, upgrade Hopper next week. Hoping, Fahe maybe debuts this week, or a different rookie. And then in round 11 can get McKenna and Samson Ryan to a rookie. We'll assume it's Fahe and Walsh, who I would love to get in. So that gets me to 20 premiums at round 12 bye. Looking at Rowan Marshall, I mean, if you look at his price now, it's 570K, which is I feel like it's well overs, and the break even's 57. Match up against Riley O'Brien should score well. So if he's at about 600K at the round 12 bye, and Tim English is only a 50-60K difference, then I know who I'd rather have over the latter half of the season. If the difference is only that much, then I think I want to make that round 12 sideways. Potentially cash out Johnson as well, although that doesn't have to happen. Um, Seamus Mitchell, he'll get cashed out at some point. And so really just floating on the 20 premiums at that stage throughout the buy rounds. And then after round 15 is when I want to attack. Chincotta, hopefully get him to someone like a Max Gorn. Zeeble, another one that he's definitely someone you can hold, but with that 179 in the cycle, I mean, again, if he's 600K and I think he's only going to average, 105 for the remainder of the season, then why wouldn't I cash him out to someone like a Petraka who I think can put 10, 15 points on his head every week? So Zeeble, someone I'm thinking about cashing out at round 15. That's also when Zeeble has his buy and Petrarca has already had his. So really trying to attack the latter half of the buy period. Um, and then that leaves me at 21 premiums, and round 16 is when I would get my 22nd premium. Obviously, these are all just price projections, maybe a little bit optimistic. Maybe I compromise that last round 16 premium. Not too sure. In terms of how many playing, I mean, over the buy rounds, round 12 is probably looking at my worst, even if I sideways trade out Rowan Marshall. That's because I would be getting a Brayshaw, getting a Mills. I just got Sinclair, have Sean Darcy, Dunkley and Goulden. So I think round 12 is actually going to be my worst. Round 14, I can get 15 promos and hopefully find some good rookie scores in there. And then round 15 probably would be my worst, but I want to trade through that. Chincotta will be on his buy, so probably the perfect time to cash him out. Zeeble, if he's still held, if he's around 600K, maybe even a bit cheaper, he's someone I can sideways out. And yeah, essentially, and round 13, not making any trades because there's only Geelong and Gold Coast on the bye. But yeah, really just looking to go bang, bang, bang over the next few rounds. Round 12, make my marshal sideways, coast on it for a few rounds after that, and then 15 and 16 really finish off the side. Looking at these trades, so currently after this week's trades, I'm on 16's trades. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 10, 12 trades. So all of these trades leave me with 4 trades left and a fully completed side. That completed side is pretty strong, if I say so myself. Sicily, potential weak link, but he's good enough where he can bounce back. I mean, maybe Sheasel drops off at the second half of the year, but I could trade him out instead of a Zebo in round 15 potentially. Maybe I get someone else instead of a Laird. But yeah, looking at this final side, if I can get to this with 3 or 4 trades left, I'll be pretty content just to coast through to the end of the season. And a side like this, it's going to be hard for people behind me to really make up ground on, I think. I think now is the real time to be aggressively chasing upgrades, aggressively chasing points, because um, these are the moving rounds. And, latter half of the season, I think there will be very minimal, or there won't be much movement unless we see a string of injuries. So that's pretty much my long-term planning from here on out. Pretty happy with where the team sits. I mean, I'm in a pretty good spot. The team value was 12.95 going into this week, and that was with nearly 100k in the bank. So I'm in a pretty good position from a cash gen point of view. I mean, there's always things you could have done better. Could have held Chandler on for a bit longer, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with where the team's sitting at. I think the long-term planning is pretty solid, and um, yeah, hoping to find a top 100 finish in there at the very least. Who knows? Maybe we can dare to dream and go even higher. So, as per usual, thanks very much for watching. I hope your teams are also in good shape. If you have any questions about potential trades this week, then go ahead and shoot them in the comment section. And yeah, as per usual, appreciate your watching, and I'll see you for the next video.